with me, Jen the Taxidermy Witch, and we are in this book again, talking about chakras and learning more about them. In particular, this video we are learning about the developmental stages of chakras and, you know, how old you are and more details on when they develop in your life. Because to me, this is so interesting. Make sure that you check this book out. It is called Eastern Body, Western Mind. I have the revised edition. It's Psychology and the Chakra System as a Path to the Self. So, I did a video right before this, and I read the back, and I talked about the book, and I will give you a basic on, just a little basic on chakras right before I start, okay? If you know nothing about them before we start talking, just know this. Chakra number 1 is your root chakra, and if you have pants on, it is where the very bottom of your torso is, the very, very bottom. Now, that's chakra 1, it's red, it's called your root chakra. The second chakra is called your sacral chakra, and it's here where your genitals are. Now, that is the second chakra, it is orange, sacral. Next chakra up, in your belly, lies the solar plexus, it is yellow, and it is the third, okay? Next up is the heart chakra. It's up here, it's green, and it's your fourth chakra. The fifth chakra is your throat chakra. It is blue. Your sixth chakra is right here where your pineal gland is your third eye chakra. It is purple. And your seventh chakra, your crown chakra, is like a halo above your head, and it is purple or clear or gold, okay? So let's know that before we start out. And now, when you want to remember, oh wait, what was chakra number 2? Where was it? You can pop back to the beginning, but I suggest that you learn those. They're in the order of the rainbow, and as long as you know where they're at, it's pretty simple to get down. It takes a little bit of practice. Maybe have a diagram in your room of the chakras, and it'll be really easy to remember. Alright, so let me get reading because there's a lot in here on this topic. Developmental stages. Development of the skills and concepts related to each chakra occur progressively in life, each complete stage supporting a healthy awakening of the next chakra. Although we function through all of our chakras most of the time, there are specific developmental stages in which the various chakra skills are learned and incorporated into the personality. Typically, the chakras evolve sequentially from bottom to top, so from 1 to 7, along with our chronological age, and then they have a figure that you can look at. It's sometimes necessary for the next chakra phase to begin in order for the one below it to complete. So, before number 1 is done, number 2 starts, and then number 1 finishes. I think that's beautiful because 1's running all the time. Your car never dies, your engine never dies. Just sometimes you have 2 engines running at once. Okay, so the diagram is showing me that my first chakra, my root chakra, is womb to 12 months. And then my sacral chakra is 6 months to 2 years. And my solar plexus chakra at my belly is 18 months to 4 years. And my heart chakra is 4 to 7 years. My throat chakra is 7 to 12 years, and that makes sense. That's when kids really start to get their voice. Your third eye chakra is adolescence, and then your crown chakra is adulthood. Okay. There's a little quote from William Shakespeare. I may as well say it. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts. His acts being 7 ages. The number 7 comes up so many times in the universe, so many times in religion, so many times in mathematical equations, science, you know. 7's a special number, and there's a reason, in my opinion, why there are 7 chakras. Alright, So now we've got a big diagram, and I'm going to skip that and do the reading, and if we need to go back to the diagram, we will. So when we were saying, it is sometimes necessary for the next chakra phase to begin in order for the one below it to complete. We're continuing on that. Therefore, there is some overlap between the development of one chakra and the next. There is also, of course, a variation from person to person, a discrepancy which gets broader in the upper chakras. The first complete round of chakra development takes roughly 20 years. So the first complete round meaning you go 1 through 7 and you've started the development. Now listen to this. This is interesting. Takes roughly 20 years. The whole cycle starting over again on a more complex level when the child leaves home and begins his or her adult life. Makes so much sense. Descriptions of the stages listed below are necessarily brief. With more detail given in subsequent chapters, this is meant to outline the unfolding developmental process. These stages can be compared with other developmental models as shown in the figure that I showed you, the big graph. Chakra 1, the lowest one, red, number 1, your root chakra at the very base of your torso. Mid-pregnancy to 12 months after birth. So when your mom is pregnant and you're in her belly, when you get to the point of 4.5 months, that's when this chakra starts spinning. Really, they spin. The energy in them starts to spin. So, and then it peaks at 4 to 5 months outside of the womb. The first chakra relates to the formation of the physical body and takes place during prenatal development and infancy. In this stage, body growth is most rapid, and therefore the main force of life, and the main focus of the life force. The infant's developmental task is to learn how to operate the body, how to suck, eat, digest, grasp, sit, crawl, stand, and walk, and manipulate objects. In general, to deal with the physical world and challenges and the challenging force of gravity. These tasks are incredibly demanding and occupy the bulk of consciousness throughout the first year. There's a little quote on the side here by C.G. Jung. If there is anything we wish to change in the world, we should first examine and see whether it is not something that could be better changed in ourselves. Projection. You guys. Really. Projection. Totally healthy, but we should know how to see it and how to diagnose it. And if you guys want to know more about projection or me to do a video, let me know in the comments. I sure would love that. Consciousness in the infant is focused internally, with little awareness of the outside world. The baby lives in a fused symbiosis with the mother, not yet realizing a separate sense of self. Until the child moves under his own stream, even minimal independency is impossible. Discovery and mastery of motor functions is the first step towards this independence. Awareness in the stage focuses mainly on survival and physical comfort. When these needs are properly met, it anchors the spirit in the physical body and the child feels welcomed into the world. Erik Erikson, in his 8 stages of psychosocial development, defines the struggle of his age as one of the trust versus mistrust. Successful progress through this stage gives us a sense of hope and affirms our right to be here and our right to have. This stage builds the foundation of security and groundlessness that enables self-preservation and forms physical identity. Okay, so I'm really hoping that I can get most of this read to you guys, but this is probably going to come in a couple parts. Let's get to reading then. So chakra 2 Now that is your sacral chakra, orange, second. Lies in front of your genitals. This develops from 6 months to 2 years, peaking at 12 to 18 months. The second chakra, which is typified by duality, sensation, feeling, and mobility, comes into consciousness, into conscious attention about 6 months, when visual acuity allows the child to focus on outside objects and gain a wiser visual perspective. A noticeable state of alertness occurs when the child sits up for the first time, becomes aware of things out of immediate range. As the child learns to crawl and walk, she develops the ability to move away from her mother and experience brief episodes of independence. Called hatching by Margaret Mahler, the infant is just beginning to discover that she is a separate self, hatching from the egg-like symbiosis of Chakra 1. As she is still very dependent upon the mother, the discovery is simultaneously frightening and exciting, and therefore fraught with ambivalence as she plunges into the world of diversity and choices. Although Erikson's first stage of trust versus mistrust and extends into this period, I would give this stage a separate name, characterized by the conflict of separation versus attachment. As the child explores, she experiences her first distinctions as binary choices, good and bad, pleasure and pain, closeness and distance, self and other. In this stage, these distinctions are felt rather than understood. At this point, the child is all need, sensation, and desire. Need wants to be satisfied. Sensation gives way to desire. Needs and desire mark the motivation for locomotion. Seeing something and moving toward it, merging with it, and incorporating it, most often through the mouth. As language is not yet developed, the prime means of communication is through emotion. At this point, children are all empaths, really. If you don't know language, you become empathetic because you need to understand what's going on around you somehow. As language is not yet developed, the prime means of communication is through emotion, which hopefully is responded to in a caring and meaningful way. This stage focuses on the formation of an emotional identity, which is mainly interested in self-gratification. Now we're talking about chakra number 3, 18 months to approximately 4 years of age. Chakra 3, which is the one at your belly, at your solar plexus, it is yellow, and it is the third from the bottom. Chakra 3 begins with the period of attempted autonomy and occurs with the terrible twos, also known as the willful stage. The child has now successfully hatched from the mother and is secure enough with this separateness to want to experiment with his own relation. What was only powerless wishing in the second chakra now becomes an act of will, with some small hope of success. The development of language allows the child to conceive of a time in terms of cause and effect. This realization makes it possible to begin controlling impulses and delaying gratification. If I eat my vegetables, I will get dessert. Here, the unconscious, instinctual states of the lower 2 chakras start to come under conscious control, signaling the emergence of the conscious self and the awakening of the ego. The child at this stage is naturally self-centered and wishes to establish a sense of personhood, power, and the ability to self-create and self-define. He is aware of himself as a separate entity and is now focused on power dynamics through exploration and development of his personal will. The important achievement here is a sense of autonomy and will, balanced harmoniously with the will of others. Breaking the child's will is without setting limits. Erikson refers to this stage as autonomy versus shame. and doubt. Healthy resolution brings about power and will. This is a formation of a personal ego identity, mainly focused on self-definition. Now there's a little quote in here by John Bradshaw that I want to read to you. The strength of our ego boundaries is the result of each properly resolved developmental crisis. Very few words, very heavy. Alright, now I'll have a little drink and then say that we are moving on to chakra number 4, which is your heart chakra, and that develops between 4 years of age and 7 years of age. Okay. Chakra 4, the heart chakra, develops as one leaves the stubborn egocentricity of the 3rd chakra, the solar plexus, and begins to show interest in relationships outside of the primary ones with mother and father. This does not mean that the heart has not already been open, as any parent of a toddler will attest. In earlier phases, the heart is open but not intelligent, being unconscious of its loving. As chakra 4 awakens, loving becomes more conscious, meaning that behaviors are consciously adapted to gain or express love. The autonomy developed in chakra 3 forms a foundation for relationships with others. Relationships within a family provide the child's first model of how to form her own relationships. The child now internalizes these family relationships and begins to have playmates her own age. The nature of any of these relationships greatly affect the child's self-esteem, and for this reason, rejection or loss can be particularly damaging at this stage. Listen to me and let me say it again. From the age of 4 to 7 years of a child's life, rejection and loss can be particularly damaging. This is what made me an empath as a child. This is part of what created such a very solitary environment when I was little. So I just want you guys to make sure, if you're raising someone who's 4 to 7 years old right now, please know that about them. Alright. The world of the family is the social foundation for entering the larger world of school or daycare. Conceptual thinking makes it possible to perceive the world as a complex set of relationships, and learning these relationships is the dominant task at hand. Why does fire make it warm? Why does Susie's mommy drive a different car? Why does Daddy have a beard and you don't? Learning how things relate to each other is the main focus for consciousness at this stage. This stage heralds the formation of our relationship programs and our social identity. The success formation of a healthy social identity rests on self-acceptance, which simultaneously allows for the acceptance of others. Erickson called this stage innovative versus guilt, with resolution bringing about direction and purpose, essential to the next level above. Now we're going into chakra 5, which is our throat chakra. Really centers on communication, and it is blue. This is developing between 7 and 12 years. This is the stage of creative expression. Once the social identity is developed and one understands basic relationships between self and world, a period of personal creativity unfolds. If preceding stages have gone well, then the child has a solid sense of self and is filled up energetically and emotionally. Now there is a desire to move that energy forward into creativity, into the act of giving something back, of making one's own offering to the world. The ability to make this offer and be appreciated for it is essential in maintaining ego strength. The child's thinking now operates on a more symbolic level, allowing creativity and more abstract thinking. Erickson called this stage industry versus inferiority. where resolution results in a sense of competence. This is a period of expansion, experimentalization, and creativity. For this reason, it is important to support the child's natural curiosity and creativity. It is also important to model healthy forms of communication. This is the formation of a creative identity with the important property of self-expression. And now we're on to chakra 6, which is where your pineal gland is, or your third eye, right between your eyebrows. Chakra 6 develops at adolescence. The awakening of this chakra requires the ability to recognize patterns and apply them to life decisions. This is the emergence of Paget's formal operations stage, where imagination helps the child develop his symbolic conception of the world. For adolescents, it marks a period of re-examining their social identity. For this time, making it a more conscious choice, whereas the fourth chakra, social identity, is largely created in unconscious reaction to family dynamics. There may be a drawing interest in spiritual matters, mythology, or symbolism, whether through music, lyrics, popular movie icons, or the latest fashion at school. When allowed to mature, this leads to the formation of archetypal identity, whose interest is self-reflection. Erickson named the conflict of adolescence as identity versus role confusion. Now we are on to chakra 7, which is your crown chakra, or your connection with the divine, your connection with spirit, with the divine. And this develops in early adulthood and beyond. And think about it, that's when we're really starting to analyze religion and spirituality, and we've made it. We're in the second tier of our life almost. All right, chakra 7, early adulthood and beyond. The 7th chakra is related to the pursuit of knowledge, the formation of a world view, and the awakening of spiritual pursuits. I'm smart. It's like I almost quoted the book, but in my own words before it was read. Good job, Jen. Each new piece of information is filtered through the developing worldview, a constantly changing structure, forming the basis for all behavior. The 7th chakra is largely concerned with the search for meaning. Man's Search for Meaning. Great book. Search for meaning. Asking questions about the nature of life, the universe, and the self within. This leads to the formation of a universal identity, which is found at the core of the awakened self through self-knowledge. You guys need to look into Kriya Yoga and Kundalini, and Kundalini is a word more people know, but Kriya Yoga, C-R-Y-A, Kriya Yoga, is something that, if you know what it is, please let me know. Paramahansa Yogananda, Autobiography of a Yogi, that kind of thing. Kriya Yoga. Okay, so now that we've read that, we're at a pausing point in this chapter, and I will be doing another video talking about interactive development, the chakra system as a whole, and then going into adult development and how the process starts over again, doesn't it? Because it says chakra 1 will start spinning and developing again once you leave home, and you have to do all of this on your own. So, really cool. Actually, I'm going to read the interactive development as chakra system as a whole, because we're only at 24 minutes, and I can get maybe a little bit more in. It is important to note that the role of both ascending and descending energy currents as development takes place. Borrowing some from Ken Wilber's developmental psychology, we can see how the descendant of consciousness from the crown couples with the organization of raw energy from below and simulates the ability to move on to the next stage. Having an awareness, chakra 7 of the body, chakra 1, allows us to differentiate from the body, and in doing so we are able to operate on it, and hence operate on the physical world. The drawing of images, chakra 6, allows us to perceive the world outside of ourselves, and gives rise to a sense of otherness and the desire to move and explore, chakra 2. The development of language skills, chakra 5, allows us to exert our will, chakra 3, as we say yes, no, I will, or I won't. Language interactions give us concepts to go with our movements, feelings, and actions, and thus the conceptual world of relationships, characteristics of chakra 4, is born. Difficulties occurring during any of these crucial stages can affect the chakra that is developing at the time, as well as the chakras that follow. For example, one's sense of power is positively affected by the security of getting survival needs met properly. Ease of the heart is supported by the nurturance of touch, and as the first and second chakra stages, our ability to communicate is supported by a balanced ego and a sense of love and acceptance. And the next section is adult development, the process of individuation. These are hard words when you're actually trying to pronounce them. So we'll come back to that. I'm going to give you a show of the cover again. This is the book we're reading from, Eastern Body, Western Mind. So join me back, Jen the Taxidermy Witch, as we learn how our chakras develop when we move away from home on their second stage. So this is interesting stuff. Let me know if you agree, and come back for the next video. Jen the Taxidermy Witch. All my love to you guys.